The rain fell in heavy, uneven sheets, blurring the streetlights of Charleston into trembling halos of gold. For most people, it was just another stormy evening. But for Mallory James, this night would become the turning point of her entire life. A night that would be replayed, dissected, and judged by strangers who would never know what truly lived inside her heart. Her shoes slapped against the soaked pavement as she hurried through the empty street, clutching two small bundles against her chest. Jaden, for years old, pressed his damp cheek into her shoulder. Amara, barely 2, whimpered quietly, sensing her mother's shaking breath. Mallory whispered to them with a trembling voice that betrayed everything she was trying to hide. "It's okay, baby. It's okay, Mommy's right here." But her voice cracked, the lie dissolving into the storm. She was exhausted, not just from running, but from months of collapsing under life's weight. Lost jobs, lost support, lost hope. She had tried so hard to hold everything together, piecing survival out of minimum wage shifts and sleepless nights. But society never forgave a single mother, especially not a Black one. Every mistake, every delay, every moment of weakness was another stone on her back. By the time she reached the dimly lit storefront on Nelson Avenue, her arms were shaking so badly she could barely hold the children. She stood beneath the metal awning of a closed grocery store, shielding them from the rain. Her breath came out in ragged fragments. She knew what people would say. She knew what the courts would say. She knew what the world would say. But none of them were here now. None of them knew what she was running from. Mallory kneeled slowly, lowering the children with heartbreaking gentleness. Jaden looked up at her with wide, confused eyes. "Mommy, why are we stopping? I'm cold." "I know, baby, I know." She brushed rain from his forehead, pretending it was only rain, not tears. "Mommy needs to fix something. I'll be back. I swear to you, I'll be back." Her hands trembled as she tucked a handwritten note into Jaden's coat pocket. The ink had smeared from the rain, but one line remained legible. "I will return. Please keep them safe." She kissed their heads once, twice, a third time as if trying to memorize the shape of them. Then she stood, her legs stiff, her heart screaming at her to stop, to turn back, to take them home. But she forced herself to step away. 1 step, 2, 3, and then she broke into a run, disappearing into the rain before her resolve collapsed. Minutes later, a pickup truck rolled to a slow stop in front of the store. The door swung open, and a tall man stepped out, his face shadowed beneath the brim of his cap. He didn't pause. He didn't hesitate. He walked straight toward the children as though he already knew they would be there. Jaden looked up at him, his teeth chattering. "Daddy?" The man exhaled heavily, jaw tightening. "Yeah, son, it's me." He scooped the children into his arms, not tenderly, not coldly, but with the certainty of a man who believed this moment justified everything he had done before. Mallory wasn't there to see him glance at the street, searching the darkness for the woman he once loved, or the woman he now claimed was unfit to raise their children. By the time dawn broke over Charleston, a police report had been filed. By midday, social services had issued a formal investigation. And by evening, news stations had already begun to spin the story. Mother abandons children in storm, facing possible life sentence. No one asked why. No one asked what forced her hand. And worst of all, no one asked whether the story was true at all. The morning after the storm, the city felt strangely quiet. Damp streets reflected pieces of the rising sun, but nothing about the new day felt warm. Not for Mallory. She hadn't slept. She'd spent the night hiding in an abandoned bus shelter miles away, curled up on the cold metal bench, arms wrapped around herself the same way she had once wrapped them around her children. Every time her eyes closed, she saw their faces, confused, scared, trusting her even when she didn't trust herself. By the time she forced herself to stand, her legs felt numb. Her clothes were still damp. Her hair had dried stiff with rain. But none of that mattered. She had only one thought, burning like a fever. I have to get them back. She had no plan, no money, no safe place to go. But a mother's desperation could fuel entire revolutions. and she was ready to start one if she had to. What she didn't know yet, what she couldn't know, was that everything was already spiraling out of her control. Across the city, in a bright, sterile office building, a white social worker named Elaine Porter typed rapidly at her computer. The report was already taking shape. Children found abandoned at 11:47 p.m. Weather conditions severe. Initial statement suggests maternal neglect. She paused before typing the next line. She didn't know Mallory. She had never met her, but she already had an opinion and possible long-term unfitness for guardianship. She clicked save. The file was only hours old, yet it already carried the weight of a verdict. Meanwhile, in his small apartment, Marcus Reed, the children's father, paced the living room. Jaden watched cartoons on the couch, eyes still swollen from crying. Amara slept fitfully in her old baby blanket, clutching the satin edge the way she always had. Marcus wasn't watching them. He was crafting a narrative, one that painted him as the hero, one that painted Mallory as unhinged, one that made everything finally tilt in his favor. He knew exactly how the system worked. He had seen friends, black men, crushed by it. But he also knew something else. The same system that destroyed people like him could destroy Mallory faster. He picked up his phone, dialing a number he had kept for months. "Officer Daniels? Yeah, it's Marcus. I've got something you'll want to hear. It's about the James case." He pressed a hand to his forehead and exhaled slowly. "I found the kids. Yeah, she left them there. Look, I didn't want to believe she'd actually do something like that. But, I mean, you know how unstable she's been." He said it so smoothly that even he almost believed it. Back in the streets, Mallory stumbled toward the only place she thought might help, her friend Lena's home. Lena was one of the few people she trusted, one of the only people who had seen how hard she fought to keep her children safe. When Lena opened the door, her eyes widened. "Mallory? Oh my God. What happened to you?" Mallory nearly collapsed into her arms. "They took them," she whispered. I left them for a moment, just a moment. Lena, I was coming back. But Marcus found them. And now the police." Lena's face hardened with understanding and fear. "You're all over the news." Mallory froze. "What?" Lena pulled out her phone and turned it toward her. A headline glared back in bold white letters. "Black mother abandons children in storm. Police seeking immediate arrest." Below it, a blurry photo of Mallory, taken months ago, but now plastered on every screen in Charleston. Her knees gave out. Her heart felt like it was falling through her chest. "No," she said, voice trembling. No, they can't. I didn't abandon them. I didn't." But the world had already made up its mind. Lena knelt beside her, gripping her shoulders. "You have to get a lawyer. You have to turn yourself in before they drag you in." "I can't," Mallory whispered. "If I go to jail, who will fight for them? Who will tell the truth?" Her voice cracked. "Who will save my babies?" Before Lena could answer, there was a sudden, sharp knock at the door. 3 short bangs. Police rhythm. Lena's face went pale. "Mallory, they're here." Mallory's breath caught in her throat. And everything, every fear, every injustice, every moment of her life, collapsed into that single terrifying second. The knocking grew louder, more forceful. The kind of knocking that didn't ask permission, it demanded surrender. "Charleston Police Department. Open the door." Mallory's pulse exploded in her ears. Her entire body stiffened, her fingers gripping the edge of Lena's sofa. Lena swallowed hard, whispering urgently, "Mallory, listen to me. If they see you panicking, they'll assume guilt. Just breathe. I'm right here." But Mallory couldn't breathe. Her chest felt crushed under the weight of fear and injustice, a weight she'd carried all her life, but never like this. The knocking came again, harder. "Open the door. Miss Thompson, we know you're inside." Lena flinched. They even knew her name. That meant this wasn't a welfare check. It wasn't a friendly conversation. This was an arrest. Lena stood, her voice steady but trembling beneath the surface. "I'll talk to them. Stay behind me." Mallory wanted to run. Every instinct screamed to flee out the back door, disappear into the alleys before the law swallowed her whole. But she also knew, if she ran, the headlines would transform into something worse. Dangerous mother on the run. Mentally unstable woman flees arrest. Proof she is guilty, even if the truth was crying inside her throat. Mallory pressed her hand to her chest, whispering, "God, please help me, please." Lena opened the door. Two officers stood outside, rain dripping from the rims of their hats. Officer Daniels, a tall, square-jawed man with the stiff posture of someone who enjoyed authority a little too much, stepped forward. "Morning, Miss Thompson," he said, his voice calm, almost rehearsed. "We're looking for Mallory James. We received credible information that she may be staying here." Lena didn't blink. "Why?" she asked. "Has she committed a crime?" Daniel's eyes narrowed slightly. "She is wanted for questioning in connection with the abandonment of 2 minors. He glanced past Lena. "Is she here?" Lena hesitated, not long, but long enough. Mallory knew the officers felt it. Daniel stiffened. "Ms. Thompson, please step aside." Mallory stepped out from behind the sofa, her legs wobbling but her eyes steady. "I'm here," she said quietly. "You don't have to push your way in. I'm right here." The officers exchanged a quick look, the kind of look that said this will be an easy arrest. Daniels stepped closer. "Ms. James, you are under arrest for child endangerment and abandonment." "No," Mallory cried, stumbling back. "I didn't abandon them. I left them for a moment. I was coming back." "Please, you have to listen." "Ma'am," Daniels said sharply, raising a hand. "Anything you say can be used against you. Put your hands behind your back." The cold metal of the handcuffs clicked shut around her wrists. A sound escaped her throat. Not quite a sob, not quite a scream, but something raw, broken, and human. Lena yelled, "You don't have to cuff her like a criminal." But the officers ignored her. Daniels whispered into his shoulder radio, "Suspect in custody." Bringing her in. Mallory lowered her head, tears falling onto the floor. Not because of the cuffs, not because of the arrest, but because in that moment, she realized something horrifying. No one cared why she did what she did. No one wanted her side. No one asked if she had been threatened. No one wondered if she had been running from something even worse. To them, she was already guilty. They led her out into the street. Neighbors peeked through blinds. One woman stood on her porch, arms folded, shaking her head. "A damn shame," the woman muttered. "These mothers nowadays." Mallory looked up, eyes burning. If only they knew. If only they understood what it takes to survive while being watched, judged, suspected every day of your life. The police shoved her into the back of the cruiser. As the door slammed shut, she caught one last glimpse of Lena. Hands pressed to her mouth, tears in her eyes. Mallory mouthed the words, "Please, take care of them." The engine growled to life. At the police station, everything moved too quickly and too coldly. Her fingerprints, her mugshot, her belongings placed into a plastic bin. Her shoelaces removed. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, harsh and unforgiving. Every step felt like she was walking deeper into a world designed to swallow women like her. Women without power, without protection, without a voice loud enough to echo through courtrooms. They placed her in a small interrogation room. The walls were beige, almost sickeningly bland, as if meant to dull every emotion. Her hands shook uncontrollably. She thought of Jaden's last words. "Mommy, I'm cold." She pressed her palms to her face, sobbing silently. Minutes later, the door creaked open. Officer Daniels and a shorter female officer entered. Daniels carried a file too thick for a case only 1 day old. "Ms. James," he said, sitting across from her, "we're giving you an opportunity to explain your actions. But you need to understand we already have testimony." Her heart stopped. "Testimony?" she whispered. Daniels nodded. "Your ex-partner, Marcus Reed. He claims you've been unstable for months, violent, neglectful. He says he feared for the children's safety." Mallory's mouth fell open. "That's not true," she breathed. "He's lying. He just wants custody. He wants." Daniels cut her off. "He also said you threatened to disappear with the kids, that you said he'd never see them again." Mallory shook her head violently. "No, he said those things to me. He threatened to take them away. He said the courts would believe him because no judge listens to a broke black mother. Those were his words." The officers exchanged another silent look. A look of disbelief. A look that said, "We've heard this story before and we don't buy it." Daniels leaned forward. "Ms. James, do you realize your children could have died out there? In that storm? Alone?" That single word, "alone," stabbed her like a blade. "I was coming back," she whispered. "I swear on my life, I was coming back." He closed the file. "But you didn't." Mallory felt the world tilt. This was not a conversation. This was a burial. She was the one being buried. Hours later, she was escorted to a holding cell. A narrow metal room with a thin mattress and a smell that clung to the walls. As the bars clanged shut, Mallory gripped them with shaking hands. "I need a lawyer," she whispered to the guard. "You'll get one when the court appoints one," he said simply. "When will that be?" "Tomorrow morning." Tomorrow. By then, the story would travel farther. By then, the world would have already chosen a villain. Mallory sank onto the bed, hugging her knees to her chest. Outside the tiny square window of the cell, the sun began to set. The sky glowed orange, then crimson, then deep, suffocating blue. And with each passing minute, Mallory felt the same thought tunneling deeper inside her. If I don't fight this, they will take my children forever. Night in the holding cell was a slow, suffocating crawl through darkness. Mallory lay awake, staring at the cracked ceiling, counting each breath as if keeping herself alive through sheer will. Every few minutes, a distant clang of metal echoed down the hall. Sometimes footsteps, sometimes voices, sometimes the hollow silence that pressed against her chest until she thought she might burst. She didn't cry anymore. Not because the pain had faded, but because she had cried every tear she had left. Her entire life had narrowed into one repeating thought. Will they believe me? Her mind answered immediately, no. Not when they'd already painted her as violent. Not when society had already decided what kind of mother she was. Not when history had shown her over and over again that justice was a luxury she had never been allowed to touch. She squeezed her eyes shut, forcing herself to think of Jaden and Amara instead. Jaden's infectious giggles, Amara's tiny hands gripping her fingers, the way their hair smelled after warm baths, the way they slept curled into her body like she was the safest place in the world. Her heart cracked again. How could the world believe she would ever harm them? Hours passed. Finally, the sound of jangling keys broke through the darkness. A guard approached her cell, tapping the bars with a baton. "James, court transport in 20 minutes." She sat up slowly. What about my lawyer?" "You'll meet her at the courthouse," the guard said. Public defender. Public defender. Translation: someone overworked, underpaid, drowning in cases, and unlikely to spend more than 5 minutes learning her story before negotiating a plea. Mallory closed her eyes. She was already losing. The courthouse was cold. Colder than the holding cell had been. Cold marble floors, cold fluorescent lights, cold faces passing by, whispering behind raised hands. The air smelled of old paper, disinfectant, and judgment. They led her into a side room, where a woman in her late 40s sat at a small table, reviewing a stack of files. She wore glasses perched low on her nose and looked exhausted even before she spoke. "You're Mallory James, correct?" Mallory nodded. "I'm your court-appointed attorney, Evelyn Carter. We have..." She checked her watch. "About 6 minutes before they bring you in." 6 minutes. Her freedom, her reputation, her children. All condensed into 6 minutes of conversation. Mallory leaned forward, voice cracking. "Ms. Carter, I didn't abandon my kids. I was coming back. I needed a moment, just a moment, to deal with something dangerous. Their father." "Yes, I read part of the report," Evelyn said. flipping pages. "But you need to understand, the evidence right now heavily favors the prosecution." Mallory felt her throat close. "What evidence?" Evelyn slid the file closer. "1. Eyewitness testimony from Marcus Reed stating that you've been unstable, unpredictable, and verbally abusive." "That's a lie," Mallory cried. "I believe you," Evelyn said softly. "But what matters is what the court believes." She continued. 2. The children were found alone outside in a severe storm. I left them in a sheltered spot. I wrapped them in blankets. I understand, but the optics are bad. Very bad. Mallory clenched her fists so tightly her nails dug into her skin. 3, Evelyn said, lowering her voice. You have previous reports from social services. Mallory's head snapped up. Those weren't what they made them out to be. Someone kept calling them on me. I never neglected my kids. I'm not saying you did, Evelyn interrupted. But the existence of these reports creates a pattern the prosecution will use. Mallory's pulse throbbed painfully. What will happen to my children? She whispered. Evelyn hesitated. Right now, temporary custody has been given to Mr. Reed. Mallory stood up so fast the chair screeched. No, you don't understand. He's dangerous, he yelled at Jaden. He grabbed my arm so hard once I had bruises for weeks. Mallory, Evelyn said gently, you must stay calm. Anything you say in court, any emotional outburst, will reinforce their narrative. Mallory sank back down, shaking violently. I'm losing them, she whispered. I'm losing everything. Evelyn placed a hand on hers. I will fight for you, but today's hearing is just to determine the initial charges and bail. Mallory nodded, though she hardly heard anything beyond the roaring pulse in her ears. A guard opened the door. It's time. Evelyn stood. Remember, breathe. Speak only when asked. We will get through this. Mallory swallowed hard and followed her into the courtroom. The courtroom was nearly full. Reporters lined the benches. Whispers rippled through the air like waves. Phones tilted up, recording, capturing, dissecting her before she even sat down. At the front of the room, Marcus sat beside a lawyer in an expensive suit. He didn't look at her, not once. Judge Harrington, a stern-looking white woman in her mid-60s with sharp eyes and an even sharper tongue, entered the courtroom. All rise. Mallory stood, knees wobbling. Judge Harrington took her seat. Be seated. Evelyn whispered, Stay calm. The judge glanced at Mallory, her expression unreadable. Ms. James, she began, you stand accused of 2 counts of child endangerment, 2 counts of abandonment, and potential aggravated negligence. The state is considering additional charges. Mallory's breath stopped completely. Additional charges? Her vision blurred. Marcus smoothed his tie, pretending not to look satisfied. The judge continued, Before we determine your bail, the prosecution may present its initial narrative. The prosecutor, a tall man with polished shoes and a practiced tone, stepped forward. Your Honor, the state believes Ms. James poses a clear danger to her children. We have testimony from Mr. Reed, eyewitness statements, and evidence suggesting a pattern of neglect. Mallory shook her head slowly. No, she whispered, but too quietly for the court to hear. She left 2 minors alone in severe weather. The prosecutor continued. This was not a lapse of judgment. This was reckless, intentional abandonment. People in the courtroom murmured. Mallory felt Evelyn touch her arm in warning. Then the prosecutor delivered the final blow. The state recommends denial of bail due to risk of flight. Mallory gasped aloud. No, I would never. I came back for them. Ms. James, the judge snapped. You will remain silent unless addressed. Mallory covered her mouth with shaking hands. The room spun. Denial of bail meant she could be locked up for months, even a year before trial, without seeing her children, without telling her story, without a chance. Her entire life hung on the judge's next words. Judge Harrington looked at Mallory again, long and hard. Then she spoke. Judge Harrington's silence stretched across the courtroom like a taut wire. ready to snap. Mallory's heart hammered so loudly she thought everyone must hear it. Her palms were slick with sweat, her breath shallow, her entire future balanced on a single sentence. Finally, the judge exhaled. "I have reviewed the preliminary evidence," she said, voice firm but measured. "And while these are early proceedings, the allegations presented are extremely serious." Mallory felt her stomach twist. "However," the judge continued, "I am not inclined to deny bail at this time." A wave of gasps rippled through the room. Mallory pressed a trembling hand to her chest, relief flooding her so fast it nearly made her dizzy. But the judge wasn't finished. Given the gravity of the charges and the potential danger to the minors involved, the court will set bail at. Mallory's breath caught. $600,000. Felt like the air was sucked out of the room. Even Evelyn tensed. "Your Honor," Evelyn said immediately, rising from her seat. "My client has no means to afford such an amount. She is a minimum wage worker with no assets, no history of flight risk." "That is not the court's concern," Judge Harrington interrupted sharply. "Bail is set. Next hearing in 30 days. 30 days. Mallory swayed in her seat. 30 days in jail. 30 days away from Jaden and Amara. 30 days while Marcus shaped every narrative, every lie, every poisonous distortion. Judge Harrington tapped her gavel. "Remove the defendant." Mallory stood, dizziness washing over her. Evelyn whispered urgently, "I will file a motion to reduce bail. Don't lose hope. I'll come see you tomorrow." But her voice felt far away, muffled, swallowed by the murmurs swirling around the courtroom. Reporters leaned forward, snapping pictures. Flash after flash seared into Mallory's eyes as the officers approached her. Marcus finally lifted his gaze. He looked at her, not with anger, not with regret, but with cold triumph. The look of a man who believed he had already won. Mallory whispered, just loud enough for him to hear, "How could you? They're your children too." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. His lawyer leaned in, muttering something she couldn't hear, and Marcus turned away. As the officers took her by the arms, leading her toward the door, Mallory felt her knees weaken. Inside, she wanted to scream, to shout the truth so loudly the walls would shake. But the courtroom was a place where truth was often less important than appearance. And she knew exactly how she appeared, a black single mother in cuffs, escorted out like a criminal. Back in the holding cell, everything felt darker, colder, smaller. The other inmates looked up as she was brought in, some with sympathy, some with curiosity, others with the blank indifference of people who had seen too much misery to react to another. Mallory sat on her cot, burying her face in her hands. $600,000. She had never even held more than $1,000 in her savings at any point in her life. This wasn't bail, this was a quiet way of saying, "You're not getting out." Her breath shook. She imagined Amara waking up and crying for her mama. She imagined Jaden asking why she hadn't come back. She imagined Marcus telling them lies. "Your mother abandoned you. Your mother didn't want you. Your mother is dangerous." The thought shattered her. Her body curled into itself, a tight knot of grief and fury and helplessness. Tears soaked through her sleeves. For the first time, she felt something terrifying, a flicker of doubt, a whisper in the back of her mind. Maybe they really will take everything from me. Maybe I won't win this. Maybe the world is too strong, too cruel, too unyielding. She pressed her palms against her eyes. "No," she whispered. "I won't let them. I won't." But her resolve felt thin, fragile, desperate. Hours later, when the cell block quieted down and the harsh lights dimmed slightly, Mallory heard footsteps. A guard approached her cell. "You have a visitor," he said. Mallory's heart jumped. "Evelyn? Lena? Someone bringing good news? Anything?" But when she stepped into the visitation room, her feet froze. On the other side of the glass sat Marcus, his face unreadable, his posture rigid, his eyes colder than she had ever seen them. Mallory's pulse spiked with fury and fear. She picked up the phone slowly. "Why are you here?" she asked, voice raw. Marcus leaned back in his chair, exhaling through his nose. I came because you need to stop fighting this. Mallory blinked, stunned. What? He leaned in. You're not getting out. Mal's $600,000? No one's paying that. And even if they did, the court won't give those kids back to you. Not after what you did. Her hands tightened around the phone so hard her knuckles whitened. What I did? Marcus, you're twisting everything. You knew I would be back. You always knew. You waited for me to leave them. Didn't you? You were watching, just so you could do this. Marcus didn't deny it. He simply shrugged. I'm the stable one, Mal. I have a job, a place to live. I'm not running around complaining that the whole world is after me. The judge trusts people like me. People like him, not like her. The message was clear. Mallory's chest tightened. You wanted this, she whispered. You wanted to take them from me. You set me up. Marcus's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes flickered, a mix of guilt and stubborn pride. He leaned closer. Sign over full custody, he said slowly. And I might tell the court you didn't mean to abandon them, that you were overwhelmed, that you just made a mistake. You won't go to prison. You'll get probation, maybe community service. Mallory went still. Her entire body stiffened like a snapped wire. They're my children, she said. Marcus's jaw clenched. They're mine too, and I'm the one who can give them a stable life. Mallory shook her head. You mean you want to punish me? She breathed. You're doing this because I left you, because I wouldn't stay with you after everything. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't have to. His silence screamed the truth. Mallory felt something shift inside her. A quiet, burning fire she thought she had lost. I will never sign that, she said, voice steady despite her shaking hands. I will fight you. I will fight this system. I will fight every lie you tell. I will not give up my babies. Marcus's expression darkened. Then you're going to jail, Mal, real jail. You think the system cares about your sob story? About your excuses? They already decided who you are. He stood up, placing the phone back on the hook. You're going to lose. Mallory stared at him through the glass as he walked away, her breath trembling. No, she whispered. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but there was strength in them, not weakness. I'm going to survive. After Marcus's visit, the officers escorted Mallory back to her cell, but she didn't feel like the same woman who had walked into that visitation room. Something inside her had hardened. Something inside her had awakened. For days, she had been drowning in fear, in guilt, in accusations, in the cruel weight of a world ready to devour her. But Marcus's ultimatum, his smug certainty, his belief that she was already beaten, it lit a fire that burned hotter than despair. When the cell door clanged shut behind her, Mallory sat on the edge of the thin mattress and stared at the wall, tears drying on her cheeks. He thinks I'm weak, she whispered. He thinks I'll give up. Her hands curled into fists. I won't. Morning came hours later, though time moved strangely in jail. Too slowly and yet too fast, like days bleeding into each other without shape. The guard returned. James, attorney's here. Mallory stood quickly. Evelyn Carter waited for her in the same small interview room. But this time her expression carried something new. Urgency. We don't have much time, Evelyn said, opening her binder. I've been digging, and there are several things in your case that don't add up. Mallory leaned forward, pulse quickening. Like what? Like why Marcus was so conveniently nearby when your children were found, Evelyn said. Or why the social service reports against you were filled with vague language and anonymous complaints. Mallory's breath caught. I told you, she whispered. Someone kept calling them on me. I never knew who. It always felt like someone wanted to build a case against me. Well, Evelyn said, flipping pages, I found something else. One of the complaints listed the exact same phrasing Marcus used in his police statement. Mallory blinked. What? Evelyn nodded grimly. It suggests he may have been making those anonymous calls. Rage surged through Mallory's chest, hot and shaking. That bastard, she whispered. He planned this. He planned everything. Maybe, Evelyn said, but proving intent is difficult. What we can use is inconsistencies. For example, his timeline doesn't match the storm report. Mallory frowned. What do you mean? He claims he happened to be driving by, but 2 witnesses say they saw his truck circling the area earlier that night. Mallory's breath hitched. He was watching, she whispered, waiting for me to leave them for even a moment. Evelyn leaned forward. Mallory, we're not powerless. I can challenge the bail. I can challenge his testimony. But, she hesitated. But what? Mallory asked. I need you to tell me the truth about that night, Evelyn said softly. All of it. What were you running from? Why did you leave your children, even briefly? What danger did you think you were facing? Mallory stared at her hands, trembling. I didn't want to tell anyone, she whispered. It sounded crazy, and I knew no one would believe me. Evelyn's voice gentled. I will believe you. Mallory inhaled shakily. Marcus threatened me, she said, not just to take the kids. He told me if I didn't do what he wanted, he would make sure the courts took them away forever. Evelyn frowned. Did he ever physically harm you? Mallory hesitated, then rolled up her sleeve. For fading bruises lined her forearm. Cold fingerprints from weeks ago. He grabbed me, she whispered. Hard. Evelyn leaned closer. Mallory, why didn't you report this? Because I knew what they'd say, Mallory replied bitterly. That I was lying, that I was exaggerating, that I was just another angry black woman trying to play the victim. Evelyn's jaw tightened. You didn't deserve that, she said. But listen, this changes everything. If we prove Marcus was abusive even once, his testimony loses credibility, and the custody decision becomes questionable. Mallory felt a spark of hope, a small one, fragile, but real. Can we prove it? She asked. We can try, Evelyn said, but there's something else. Mallory's heart thudded. What? Evelyn slid a photograph across the table. A security camera still. It's from a gas station near where your children were found. Mallory looked at the grainy image. A truck. A figure leaning out the window. Marcus's truck. The timestamp was 30 minutes before she reached that location. Mallory's breath caught. He was following me, she whispered. Yes, Evelyn said. And if we demonstrate premeditation, everything shifts. Mallory covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. It was the first time since her arrest that the word hope didn't feel like a lie. Then Evelyn's tone softened. There's more, she said. I reached out to someone, a character witness. Mallory frowned. Who? Evelyn hesitated. Someone who knows you well. Someone who has watched you with your children. Someone the court might actually listen to. Mallory blinked. Who? She repeated, voice shaking. Evelyn set down a name on a piece of paper. Mallory's eyes widened. Her breath stopped. Her heart stuttered. I haven't seen her in years, she whispered. I know, Evelyn said. But when I explained the situation, she agreed to help. She said she remembers what kind of mother you were. Mallory covered her trembling mouth, because the name on the paper was someone she never expected to come back into her life. Someone from her childhood. Someone she trusted once more than anyone. Someone who saw her long before the world tried to break her. A woman named Kendra Lawson, her estranged sister. The name Kendra Lawson sat on the table like a ghost from another lifetime. Mallory stared at it, her eyes wide, her throat tight. My sister, she whispered. My sister is coming here? Evelyn nodded. She said she hasn't spoken to you in a long time, but she remembers helping raise you, remembers how you cared for kids even back then. She's willing to testify to your character. Mallory's heart twisted painfully. A memory rose. 2 teenage girls in a cramped apartment, sharing a bed, dreaming of escape. Kendra braiding her hair. Kendra shielding her from their mother's drunken rages. Kendra working double shifts so Mallory could stay in school. And then, the fight, the betrayal, the silence. I haven't talked to her in 10 years, Mallory murmured. Not since she left Charleston and left me behind. Evelyn leaned forward gently. People grow, people regret, and sometimes people come back when it matters. Mallory wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. But why now? Why would she help me after everything? Evelyn offered a small, tired smile. Because I think she believes you, and because she knows what it's like for women like us to be judged before we can speak. Women like us, not just black women, not just single mothers, but women who had survived so much the world refused to see. Mallory nodded slowly, but her hands trembled. Okay, she whispered. Okay, if she's willing to help, I'll talk to her. Evelyn closed the file and stood. I'll arrange it. In the meantime, hold on to this. We finally have a strategy. We can contest Marcus's timeline. We can challenge his credibility. And with Kendra, we can show the court who you truly are. For the first time since her arrest, Mallory felt something warm flicker inside her chest. Not hope exactly, but the beginning of a fight. Thank you, she whispered. Evelyn touched her shoulder. We're not done, she said. This is just the start. They returned Mallory to her cell, but the darkness didn't feel quite as heavy this time. She sat on her cot, staring through the bars, breathing slowly, grounding herself in the reality that she wasn't alone anymore. Someone was fighting for her. Someone was coming for her. Her sister. The thought made her stomach twist with a mix of relief and dread. What would she say? What if Kendra still blamed her? What if old wounds tore open? But before her thoughts could spiral further, she heard voices down the hallway, heated, sharp, echoing off the concrete. She froze. 2 inmates whispering. Did you hear what that guard said? About that James girl? Yeah. Apparently the DA's office is trying to push for a plea deal. Plea deal. Mallory felt her chest tighten. She listened harder. They want to offer her reduced time if she signs off custody to the dad. Damn. They doing her dirty. Man. They always do black women dirty in this county. Mallory's blood turned to ice. Marcus's plan wasn't just personal. He had the DA's office backing him. He wasn't simply trying to take custody. He was trying to erase her voice, erase her motherhood, erase her from her children's memories. Mallory clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms. No, she whispered. No one is taking my kids. Hours later, after lunch trays were collected and lights dimmed, a guard approached her cell again. James, you got a visitor. Mallory's breath caught. Kendra? She asked. You'll see. Her legs shook as she followed him down the corridor. The visitation room felt colder than before. She sat, heart racing, staring at the glass partition. Then the door opened on the other side, and Kendra Lawson stepped in. Mallory gasped. She looked older but strong. Her hair pulled into long braids streaked with silver she didn't have 10 years ago. Her eyes, the same eyes Mallory once looked up to, softened when they met hers. Kendra sat down, slowly, carefully, as if afraid the moment might break them both. Mallory picked up the phone first, her fingers trembling. Kendra, her voice cracked. Kendra pressed the phone to her ear, her eyes filling with tears. Hey, little sister. The sound of those words shattered Mallory. She covered her face, sobbing quietly. Kendra waited, patient, warm, the way she had been when Mallory was little. When Mallory finally lifted her head, her voice shook. Why are you here? After all this time? Kendra inhaled, blinking away tears. Because I saw your face on the news, she said. And because I know you, Mal. You're not perfect. None of us are. But you're not a monster. And I wasn't gonna let this world chew you up without someone in your corner. Mallory's voice cracked. I didn't abandon them, she whispered. I swear to God, Kendra, I didn't. I know, Kendra said firmly. I know you didn't. They stared at each other, years of pain and distance folding inward, collapsing into something raw but real. Mallory swallowed hard. Are you really going to testify for me? Kendra nodded. "I'll do more than that," she said. "I've talked to a few people, some community organizers, some legal advocates, a reporter." Mallory's eyes widened. "A reporter?" Kendra leaned closer. "Not one of those vultures twisting your story. Someone who fights for women like us. Someone who exposes corruption, bad policing, racial bias. All of it." Mallory felt her breath catch. "Why?" she whispered. Kendra's voice trembled. "Because they're not just trying to punish you, Mal. They're trying to erase you. And I'm not letting that happen again." "Again?" Mallory echoed softly. Kendra lowered her gaze. "When I left Charleston, when I left you," her voice faltered. "That was the biggest mistake of my life." Mallory's tears spilled over. "Kendra, I can't change the past," Kendra said. "But I can fight for you now. And I will." The words wrapped around Mallory like warm hands in the coldest place she'd ever been. She felt herself breathe for the first time in days. But then, Kendra's voice dropped to a whisper. "And Mal, there's something you need to know." Mallory's pulse spiked. "What?" Kendra swallowed hard. "Marcus. He's been talking to someone. Someone with a lot of influence in this city. Someone who wants your case to go a certain way." Mallory felt dread crawl up her spine. "Who?" she whispered. "Who is helping him?" Kendra looked terrified to say it. Finally, she breathed the name. "Judge Harrington." Mallory's world tilted. The judge, the one who set her impossible bail, the one who looked at her like she'd already failed. Everything crashed into place. The injustice, the severity, the coldness. Marcus wasn't just fighting dirty. He wasn't fighting alone. He had the judge on his side. And Mallory realized this wasn't a custody battle. It wasn't even a criminal case. It was a setup, a trap, a system working exactly the way it wanted to. Her breath shook, fear ripping through her chest. "Kendra, how am I supposed to win now?" Kendra's eyes burned with fire. "By surviving," she said. "By fighting harder than they expect. And by letting me help you. You're not alone anymore." Mallory pressed her forehead against the glass.